Hello guys, Tractor 525 here, and well, it is time for yet another update on the narrow gauge extension. Well, you guys can take a good look at this, but basically, what my father and I have just experienced is probably one of the hardest jobs we have done on the entire layout. And basically, if you look, alright, well, first of all, I should basically say this is the Woodland Way, or Skarloey, like basically the wooded area that you've seen Four Little Engines and what is it? Passengers and Impalas, the area where Duncan's like, I get no rest, and the very opening of Four Little Engines is the very first shot. That's what this is going to be. It's the wavy line, But basically, the reason why this was so hard was that we were using flex tracks, Pecco narrow gauge flex, the standard. But we had to mount this in plaster and curve it into an S shape, of course, to accomplish the scene as shown on the television series. So, I'm also making this update not only to show you guys this, but also to explain to you guys how my father and I really, because I have his help too, how we go about doing this, because I know many of you have asked, how do you make your mountains, how do you have your track slope up so smoothly, how do you do this. Well, and that's why I think that considering that this is probably one of the hardest things we have done yet, it would make sense to elaborate on this. So anyways, so first things first, we had to cut out anywhere of this mountain that was too high with the saw, and as my father was cutting it out with the saw, I had the vacuum cleaner and I was just vacuuming all the bits so that it doesn't get all over Henry's Tunnel down there or the fishing village area over here. And then what you have to do once that's done is put a thick coat of plaster so that everything flattens out. Once that's done, the great thing about plaster, we actually did all this tonight. The great thing about plaster is that it sets within 5 minutes, not even, I would say. It's amazing how fast plaster sets. So you gotta work with it fast. But even though that's the case, you can get it done. It sets very easily. I'm not speaking well today, guys. I apologize. But anyways, then what we did was connect the tracks using flex track with rail joiners. Now, I never told you guys this, but throughout the whole narrow gauge area, we used HO scale rail joiners, because working with N scale rail joiners or 009 rail joiners is a complete pain in the ass. Excuse my language, but because when working with flex track, my dad and I we like to solder the connections so that they're extra tight, and then we don't have to experience shorts or any of that stuff. But working with the N gauge rail joiners is just much more challenging. So we use the bigger HO ones, then solder all the gaps, and it just creates a nice smooth connection. So there you have it right there. But yeah, basically the reason why the hammers are here right now is that we just glued this down with Elmer's glue, wood glue, and basically we just need it all to dry. It has to dry, before we go into the next stage. But I just gotta tell you, getting that soldered and firm, and then curving this, accordingly, was just very, very challenging. I will not emphasize that enough. And yeah, once again, we just have to have these big weights, whether it's paint cans, hammers, I was using this too, tape measures. All this is to make sure it all glues, and that once we can get to the next stage afterwards. We also have to use shims, because not only do you have to worry about the slope, about it sloping, but you also have to worry about it not concaving inward or outward. In other words, having the track like that or like that. Like I said, if it's a roller coaster, you want the trains to look, be flat when they're running along the tracks. So yeah, this basically is going to be all wooded over here eventually. This is all going to be covered. I know right now it looks kind of odd considering that you have this wood ramp here and then a hill here, but all this is going to be feathered in. It'll all blend in the end. So right now we built up to here, and the big change you guys will notice. Well, first of all, you guys can take a good look at all these cardboard strips that I cut out, once we get to mountains. But you'll also notice that this right here, my dad and I screwed out, and then we turned into, a complete incline, since we're connecting all that, because it is so much easier, guys. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is so much easier to work on solid wood than build track on top of flimsy cardboard strips and webbing, because that was the initial plan, but we realized that's just not going to work out. So with that said, we move on over here to the other update, the other thing that we accomplished recently, and that is that we ripped out the old part of the old standard gauge HO track here and put in the spur. And I apologize for that, guys. My camera just shut down unexpectedly, but as I was saying, this is the other update to the whole narrow gauge extension we're doing. Well, technically it's not narrow gauge, it's standard gauge, but what we've decided is that we are going to have another line cross over here on the back along a landscape, still have Reneus Viaduct here, and then have the HO line, connect into Boulder Quarry / Bertram's old mine, and possibly Dry House Station if I can fit it in. Again, this area over here, still haven't confirmed exactly how it's going to look. I know I've laid out a few plans. All of that's going to change, guys, honestly. I mean, it's amazing how many times I constantly, scratch out something, put in something new. That's just part of the whole drill. But anyhow, back to how we got the spur in. So what we had to do was get a crowbar. It's actually similar to the narrow gauge part over there, where with that area with the track ending at the edge of the board. But what we had to do over here is get a crowbar and a hammer, and bang out this part of the track, and just rip it out. It was not a very pretty job, guys. I'll just say that right now. But then what we had to do was connect this in with nail joiners, of course, and then cut out a very small piece of 18 degrees radius track to fit in right here. And then of course we had to solder the connection right here. So basically, when you solder, guys, you're gonna get too much on. There's no way around that. So then the next day, even though what you have to do is file it down so that the connection is nice and flat, and what's most important is that there are no gaps. That way you avoid shorts or any of that stuff, because then when you get shorts, it creates a bigger problem, because many times you have to get nails and bang those in on the sides. You want to avoid that as much as possible, for sure. But yeah, I mean, the great thing about this track actually is that we already spray painted it in advance, because this spur I actually had for a very long time. Yeah, we just didn't use it for whatever reason. And to be frank, I don't know why it's spray painted if we didn't use it for the layout just yet, but but that's all I really want to say, guys. Yeah, this is the new update. Again, I know I haven't uploaded a video in about a week, so it's good that I'm uploading this now. And yes, episode 7, I know many of you are also asking me, episode 7 is in the works, okay? I plan to schedule that for a July release. Don't know if it's going to be the beginning of July or the middle of July, but it will be in July, not June, July, okay? So please, guys, stop asking me, oh, is the episode coming out? When is it coming out? July, alright? July, that's all I have to say, okay? If that changes, I would let you guys know ASAP, alright? But as of now, it is July. And one other unfortunate thing I have to tell you guys is that I know I scheduled to make a Bachman Emily. Well, I didn't say what locals they were going to be, but basically I was going to make a Bachman Emily and Bachman Mavis review this summer. Unfortunately, because of how much time this narrow gauge construction is taking up, plus my job and just all the other things I have going on, my personal life, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to those this summer. Nevertheless, they are on the back burner, so I do hope to upload them make them at some point, but probably not this summer. What my two main focuses, as for Terrence Tractor 525, are the extension and of course episode 7. And then I know you guys were asking me, oh, what's your next remake, and then what's your next episode? So that's a whole nother thing we have to talk about too. But with that, it's Terrence Tractor 525. See you guys later.